Hey BookTube, I thought today I would talk to you about some of the fiction books that I would like to read before the end of 2020. We are into the end of July now, almost into August, and so 2020 is waning quickly, which I'm not going to lie is not a bad thing. Hopefully 2021 is better. I do have some books that I would like to get to before this year is over. Hopefully the school year, for those of you who don't know, I teach writing at a university, and with COVID I feel like the school year is just going to be a nightmare, especially the fall semester, but hopefully I am wrong about that and I can still get some reading time in and not be too stressed out and crazy by the insanity that COVID is causing in education, but we shall see. I'm not excited for August. I dread August. I don't want August to be here. I would rather just stay home and read. Yeah, this is like the least excited I have ever been for the start of a new school year in like ages. I mean, I was more excited to start high school, and I hated high school. So, yeah, life is not that great at the moment in terms of going back to my job. So, yeah, pandemics are fun. I would love this to be over, like, yesterday. Anyway, so let's get on into the books that I would like to read by the end of 2020. Again, these are fiction books. I'm going to do another video that talks about non-fiction books that I would like to read before the end of the year. I feel like that is a more extensive list for some reason. I seem to be swaying a lot more towards non-fiction these days. I still like fiction, don't get me wrong, but I don't know. Non-fiction just seems to appeal more to me. I have a couple of trilogies included in this. And so I'm going to start with those first. They're both fantasy trilogies. And the first one, I've read the first book in this trilogy, but I haven't read the other two. And that is Robin Hobb's The Live Ship Traders trilogy. I read the first book, which is Ship of Magic. And I still have the second book, which is Mad Ship. Sorry, I was like, I don't remember which one. Mad Ship is the second book that I still need to read, and then the third book is Ship of Destiny. I read the first book quite a while ago. I still remember it pretty well, and I really just need to read these two. I don't know why I keep putting it off, so I would really like to get to these sooner rather than later. Like, we're talking like in August, if not sooner, because I don't want to forget everything that I read in the first book. Which I don't think I will, but, you know, I really need to get to these. And I also want to continue on into the rest of her trilogies and finish this out. My dad read all of these, all of the Robin Hobb books, and, you know, he was reading them at, like, record speed, because my father, unlike me, he reads one book at a time, and he sticks with the series until he's done. He doesn't, like, wander off into some other genre or some other book or like take a break. He's a completionist. And so, yeah, he's had all these read in a faster amount of time, and I've had them for years and still haven't read them. So, anyway, Robin Hobb, especially these two, are on my list to read before the end of 2020. My other trilogy that I would like to read before the end of 2020 is one that I've heard Lucas from at Bits of Lit talk about, and that is Liu Cixin's trilogy that starts with the three-body problem, and then there's also The Dark Forest and Death's End. For the longest time, I only had the first two books, which is why I never started reading this. And then in a haul video a while back, you probably saw I finally got the third book. And so I would really like to get to these. Lucas has raved about these on his channel and how much he liked them. So I think I will really enjoy them once I sit down and actually get to them. But again, me and my, making my way through trilogies or series, I'm better with trilogies than I am with series. But yeah, I really just need to sit down and read these, because I think once I do actually sit down and get into them, I will really enjoy them. I just haven't done it yet. And then another fantasy book I would like to get to is one I bought relatively recently. It was actually a trip to Barnes & Noble pre-Plague Days, and that is Hollow Kingdom by Kira Jane Buxton. I heard about this, I think the first time was on Steve Donahue's channel. He had gotten it in the mail and as an advanced reader copy, and I just thought this sounded so funny. And so I desperately wanted it, and put off buying it for quite a while. And then I went to Barnes & Noble with the intention of buying this. Couldn't remember the name of it. I kept thinking it was Shallow Kingdom or something. Finally, this really kind lady that worked at Barnes & Noble finally managed to figure out what I was looking for. And showed me where it was on the shelf. So anyway, yeah, I would really love to get to this. This is about a domesticated crow. His name is ST, and he spends his days hanging out with his owner, Big Jim. And Big Jim, who is his owner, also has a loyal but dim-witted dog, Dennis. And one beautiful summer evening, Big Jim's eyeballs fall out of his head, and things go horribly wrong, and then ST and Dennis have to go on this crazy adventure. It just sounds completely crazy and fun, and so I really want to get to this before the end of 2020. This is another one that I'd really like to get to sooner rather than later. Yeah, and even the blurb up here by Helen McDonald says, transformative, poignant, and funny as hell. So I think this will be great. Let's see here. I have quite a few, like, classics or, like, older books that I want to read, because that, along with nonfiction, those seem to be my jam these days. One of my Charles Dickens books that I haven't yet read but have been itching to get to is Little Dorrit. So I would like to get to this. I have the, like, companion edition to Masterpiece copy, but it's nice and floppy. I mean, look at this. So I'm cool with it. I got it at a library book sale for dirt cheap, so you can't beat that. Little Dorrit is satire on poverty, riches, and imprisonment. And so, yeah, I love Charles Dickens. I know he's kind of one of those contentious authors for a lot of people, but I really enjoy his work. Bleak House is still my favorite. But, yeah, I want to get to this as well. And, I mean, this paperback just, it begs to be read, because it's so floppy, and it feels good in the hand. You know, the whole, like, weird book nerd, obsession with the feel of books in addition to the actual experience of, you know, reading the story thing. Yeah. So Little Dorrit is another one I'd like to get to. And then, in terms of Russians, I want to read The Possessed by Fyodor Dostoevsky. I'm slowly working my way through Crime and Punishment right now, but I also want to get to this one. It is massive. I think it's even bigger than Little Dorrit. Fairly certain it is, anyway. They might be close. No, this one's bigger than Little Dorrit. But yeah, I'd like to get to The Possessed by Dostoevsky sooner rather than later. Hopefully once I finish Crime and Punishment. I'd also like to reread The Idiot by Dostoevsky, because I read that back when I was in grad school, and I don't remember much about it. So I would like to reread that. And then I also want to get to this one, because this is a whole brand new read to me. This is a Dostoevsky I've never read. So I want to get to that one. And then I would also like to continue on with reading some of the Anthony Trollope series that I haven't, because I've been reading all the standalones with Steve Donahue, but I started the Palliser series. I read Can You Forgive Her, which is the first book, and so I'd like to get to Phineas Finn at least. I'd like to get to more of these before the end of 2020, but I'm trying to, like, not be insane, especially considering, you know, I have to go back to work in, like, 3 weeks. But anyway, so, yeah, I'd like to get to Phineas Finn. I really like these Oxford editions of Anthony Trollope books. I just think they're awesome. And I also like the font size in them and stuff. It's not that I'm hating on my Penguin Classics, but these are just nice, and I really like this cover. I've always been attracted to this cover for some reason. I don't know why. But yeah, I'd like to read Phineas Finn by Trollope. Another classic-ish I would like to read is Stalingrad by Vasily Grossman. This is a beast of a book. Like, you think Possessed is big? This thing is huge. But the text, like, it doesn't take up as much space. Like, it's not super tiny. But I would like to read this. This takes place during during World War II with Hitler and Mussolini and all of that. And it's the precursor book to Life and Fate, which if you've watched Steve Donahue's channel any at all, you know Life and Fate is like one of his favorite books ever. And I've wanted to read both of these. And so yeah, I would really like to get to this. Just need to sit down and, muscle through them. So there's that. And then I have a couple of random books. One has been on my shelf for ages that I want to get to. I'm trying to get to some of these books that I've had for quite some time. And that one is The Magician of Lublin by Isaac Bashevis Singer. I've read some of Singer's other work. I read The Slave by him because one of my friends, that's one of her favorite books of all time. And so I'd really like to get to this one. I think it just sounds fun because it's about a Houdini-like performer whose skill has made him famous throughout Eastern Poland. And yeah, so I just think this one would be a good read, and you can't go wrong really with Isaac Bashevis Singer in my opinion. And my friend would definitely agree with that. So I'd like to get to this one as well. And it's fairly short. I could read this in no time. It's just a matter of actually picking it up and getting through it. And then the last book I want to read is one that I got from a former professor in the English department. He was moving when he retired, and he was getting rid of a ton of books. And he had all these boxes of books that he was getting rid of. And I went through them and picked out quite a few books, most of which I still haven't read. So they have his name on the side of it. But one of them is The Stone Raft by Jose Saramago. I love Jose Saramago. His book Blindness is one of my favorite books of all time. So I would really love to read a lot of his other books. I've read several more, but Blindness is like still my favorite of his. And so when the professor was getting rid of this one, I snatched it up because I want to read, like I said, pretty much everything he's written. The thing about Saramago that I'm sure would put a lot of people off is the fact that he has a weird relationship with punctuation. I don't see it quite as badly in this book as I have in some of the others, but he tends to not necessarily use periods at the end of sentences, and he doesn't denote, like, when people are speaking, like, who it is that's speaking, or put quotation marks around what they say. So I'm sure that's a turnoff for some people. And once you get used to it, you don't really notice it. It's just a quirky thing that he did. And it doesn't bother me. And his stories are so good that I don't really care that he did that. This one is The Stone Raft. If you didn't know, Jose Saramago was Portuguese, and this is translated by Giovanni Ponteiro. And this book is, one day, quite inexplicably, the Iberian Peninsula simply breaks away from France and the rest of the continent and begins to drift as if it were a sort of stone raft. Pandemonium sets in, and it goes on from there. So, I really want to get to this. This was also the winner of the 1998 Nobel Prize for Literature. So that's pretty cool. If you haven't ever read Jose Saramago, I would highly suggest that you do so, because he's awesome, especially Blindness. Read it. Okay, so those are just some of the books that I would like to get to before the end of 2020, at least in terms of fiction. These are not all of them, of course. This is pretty ambitious, even for me. But we shall see what happens, right? Anyway, let me know if you've read any of these books, or if there are any you would like to read. Leave me a message down in the comments, and I will talk to you again soon. Thanks, BookTube.